New World Season 2 is here and it's actually on time. Let's show you what we've got. There's some very big things in this patch, but I know a lot of you might be like waiting for the expansion. However, let's look what we've got right now and talk about it. So first things first, Season 2 Blood of the Sands downtime will begin in all regions at 5 AM Pacific time. That's noon UTC, basically midday tomorrow. And the expected downtime is 2 hours. FYI, I'm going to be streaming that from the first thing in the morning. We're going to be waiting and we're going to be playing all night, baby. Link to my Twitch in the description. And then by now, I'm sure you know some of the big features. We'll go through this and we'll go through some of the patch notes a little bit. New seasonal story. From what I can tell, it's actually quite cool. The new season pass, of course. Transmog, they're bigging it up now, even though it's actually coming mid-season 2, but fair enough, they're talking about it now. The Elite Trial, the 20-man raid, that's coming, and so is the 10-man with the hatchery. The new Heart Rune, we'll see if that was going to get buffed. They were talking about maybe buffing it. A PvP reward track, questionable on this one. Doesn't really seem that huge to me, but I need to see it in action, I think. Some changes to Outpost Rush. First Light's going. There's a new arena map. And then, interestingly, there is this Blood of the Sands merch, which I would really like, but from generally what I can tell, it's only America. Maybe I can pay to get it shipped over. There's some of it I actually really do like. And then we have the actual patch notes, and there's quite a lot of stuff in this patch note. I'm not going to go through everything. I'm just going to go through and sort of pick out any of the major things. I don't think that much has necessarily changed, but we'll talk about what has over the course of the period of the PTR. So of course we do have the seasonal story that we did just mention. You can pick that up. If you've already done the season 1 story, you just pick up doing the season 2 story. If you've not completed the season 1 story though, you then pick that up from Crow's Nest as well. You'll probably have to repeat some of it, I think. I'm sort of curious what happens if you're halfway through that. Either way, on the PTR, you pretty much had to do the whole thing. It was a little bit annoying, but you know, it is what it is. The new season pass, honestly, I'm not sure how many people are even going to be bothering with the season pass this time. A lot of the times it's just going to be like rewards you don't need. Kite and padding, yeah, it might be worth having a bit of gold, but I don't really think it's that major. It's interesting that they keep listing Transmog, even though it's actually going to be a mid-season 2 thing, but fair enough, they insist. The Worm is also coming. Of course, we know that that's had quite a few changes. I don't know if the changes are necessarily in here, but it's had new mechanics. It's going to be buffed in terms of how much health it has, how much damage it does. And of course, we're getting the seasonal trial. Interesting. There's a question whether or not people are actually going to be doing that content all that much. I think they will for the first coming days, but then I think it'll sort of like die off a little bit as we all sort of turn our gaze to the expansion. The new Heart Rune ability sort of seemed a little bit underwhelming, but they did say they were thinking about buffing it, so let's see if they did. The PvP reward track I mentioned, that sort of seemed a little bit underwhelming to me. I think it's just because most people have got the good gear at this point. It's still a bit random. Yes, you get better gear more consistently, but yeah. One thing I would say is apparently this is the only way now to get the invigorated craft perk, and it's not dropping that often. Don't know if that's going to be changed, but I know a lot of PvPers seem to be a bit annoyed by that. Raid groups we know about. Cross-World Outpost Rush, this is actually a big one really. It seemed to work okay on the PTR, let's hope it works when it goes live. Having quieter servers actually being able to participate. Yes, perfect, beautiful. And the changes to Outpost Rush seem good. Don't really like the barrier to Baroness, but okay, fair enough. First Light, we know that's going. We've spoken about that a few times. You should still have access to your stuff under the name of Old First Light, so not too stressful, but just be aware of that. The new 3v3 arena map, it does actually look really good. It's going to rotate once every 2 weeks, so, you know, I'm going to be jumping in when it's this one just to give it a try. Quite a few changes to some quests. I'm not actually going to go through anything here. It all seems a little bit too detailed. I'm probably going to miss something really huge. It just is what it is. There's so many patch notes that it would literally be an hour and a half if I read the whole thing. Some changes to the expeditions as well. Nothing crazy, I don't think, but maybe there is. And then quickly onto the combat changes. You leave combat a little bit quicker. That's always interesting. Hail and Hurt is gone. That's going to get you just going to have that 10% buff all the time. AoE taunts don't put others in combat. And really one of the main ones here is this blocking. Basically one-handed and magic weapons, you're going to be able to block and block range damage at 50%. Two-handed weapons are going to be 30%, although it actually is reduced if you have less stamina. And then shields are still at 100. That's an interesting change. We'll see if it really nerfs range. We'll have to wait and see. Although it could also help range, because if you're getting shot at by like a bow or something, you can sort of block until you're ready to run away maybe. Some big changes to weapons. I'm at the minute not good enough or not meta enough to really know what weapons are actually getting buffed. I think last time I said the Ice Gauntlet, well, there's not many changes to it, and then somebody was like, it's a huge change, Jay, how could you be such a fool? So I won't make any comments here, but there's some changes to everything, but like literally every weapon is getting some changes. They did speak about some extra changes, so these are probably here, but I honestly can't remember which ones are getting what. So Yeah, I don't know what's going to be meta. Let's hope it's not the musket, I guess. One that seems to be like slipping under the radar, invasions are getting a change. They're not being made that much better. From what I can gather, it's not like that big of a change. Basically, you get invited with 10 minutes instead of 15 minutes to go. And instead of it being 30 minutes, it's 25 minutes. So it's going to shave off 10 minutes. Sort of feel like you could literally just absolutely take off another 10 minutes relatively easily and just focus on the end of the waves. But okay, they said they've increased the difficulty of the earlier waves. It doesn't change the end waves, so it's pretty much going to be exactly the same. These are some changes to the Outpost Rush. I'm not going to go through those here, but it sounds really interesting. I'm very excited to see this when we get cross-world. The rewards for the 3v3 arena are being buffed a little bit. Twice a day, basically, you're going to be able to get like an Outpost Rush box, basically. Interesting, in the open world PvP, weapons and armors that drop from open world PvP now actually have PV perks on them. Fair enough. There are some changes to the PvP trade skill perk items. They're not bind on pickup, which is good. However, as I said earlier, there's a bit of a question mark on how you actually get these and the frequency that you are going to get them. The faction loot has been changed. It has been buffed a little bit. Changing it to 580 makes it that you can't get it to 625, so it sort of makes it a little bit redundant. If you're doing PvP, for example, in the resilient gear, it will get scaled up to 600 in Outpost Russian Arena, but yeah, I mean, it's good to sort of maybe get you along that expertise range, but you could just buy some 590s for cheap. I don't really think that's that big of an issue, unless it's sort of prepping for the expansion, I guess. There's also some skins that you can buy now. Each faction, you can be able to buy the skins for that faction at the vendor, so that's quite good, as well as those trophies, which we're not going to talk about too much here. So PvP loot drops have been updated. When you kill another player, you will receive new items, brutish armor, weapons, and trinkets. So basically a new type of gear that's actually going to be quite good at PvP, we think. The PvP focused perks, you can also get them in elite chests and really from powerful monsters as well, but primarily from PvP, so that's really interesting. And then you also have the crafting replicas. These basically, from doing wars and I think Outpost Rush, you get a chance of a pattern and then you can craft them. I think it's a pattern, or maybe it's not a pattern, sorry, excuse me. It's actually an item that I think you might need 10 of. I can't remember the name of the item off the top of my head. Either way, that could give a way of PvPers getting some gold, maybe. I think they're bind on equip, but don't quote me on that. The PvP reward track, as I said, has been updated. I mean, you do get some better items earlier. It just feels a little bit weird at this point, and it still feels a bit random. It's better than nothing, but yeah, it's been improved. So this perk availability one is really interesting because in theory it's supposed to stop combinations like Lost Ward and Resilient. However, it's not actually present on most crafting recipes. So don't just think that's going away. What it is though is that it is available when you use the Expedition and PvP replicas, then you'll not get that weird combo. Yeah, that's good, takes away some of the randomness, but it also leaves some of the randomness behind, but okay. Oh no, this one I hadn't actually seen. The number of Humble Shards given by Outpost Rush has been increased. Delightful. That is absolutely, thank God for that. They should have done that ages ago. Equipment items given as rewards from War and Outpost Rush can now be upgraded. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Although I think we already knew about Outpost Rush, but never mind. And of course they can drop the, well, they say crafting patterns. I thought it was an item. I'm getting a little bit confused. I'll have to wait and see in-game. Corrupted Breaches now have new items that drop. Basically, there's more reason to do them. Some other territories, Morningdale and Weaver's Fen, are getting more gold because First Light's not a thing. There are those artisan items, which, if I'm honest, they didn't seem all that hot on the PTR. Maybe they've been changed. Obviously, I can't tell just by looking at the patch notes. Gathering, you can now also gather these like rare items that will increase your trade skill. Well, your gathering trade skill. Fishing's got a big rework. As I said, you should probably check out Fivehead if you want an overview of fishing. He did a great video on this. I just don't understand this enough. Some changes to how you actually do the season. I haven't looked at the quickest way because personally I'm not trying to speedrun it, but there are some changes to that if you're interested. Hopefully it makes it a bit more even for most of the players. And then I think this is mostly fixes. There's some quality of life stuff. For example, the search, that's going to be absolutely fantastic, but I think we already knew about that. Don't think there's anything major there that I'm missing, but maybe I could be wrong. I think this one's been in a while, but it's worth mentioning again. Well, it's been in since the first PTR. Companies must now have at least 25 members to declare war, so you can't just be doing it with like a small number of people. You actually have to have a big team. Somebody will probably figure a way around it though. Some known issues, probably worth checking if you are having an issue. Then maybe you should actually like come in here. Some unclaimed Season 1 rewards do not appear during Season 2 until the UI is refreshed. Not quite sure what that means, but I feel like I might have had that on the PTR, so I'll keep an eye on that one. As I said, I'm not going to go through everything. I think we've sort of covered enough there. I think it's mostly a decent patch. It does sort of feel like it's the expansion waiting room. However, if you want to come and watch me pop off in the raid tomorrow, then I'm going to be streaming it all day. And actually, I'm probably going to stream it all day for the next 5 to 7 days. So do make sure you come and give me a follow over on the Twitch. There is a link in the description. Big shout out to my YouTube members as always. I hope though guys you have a most beautiful day. Let me know if I missed anything big. Have a most beautiful day, like and subscribe. Goodbye.